is indeed a beautiful afternoon, all soaked in the delighted frame of mind. I take this opportunity to welcome all the dignitaries, Principal Ma'am, Vice Principal Ma'am, academic coordinators, my colleagues, and my dear students on this virtual platform for Augusto e-Career Fair 2021-22. Before we start this session, I would like to mention an attendance G form will be circulated, and you all are requested to mark your attendance once you receive this G form. I would like to call upon our school captain Shrija Pal to welcome our speaker, Dr. Aparna Khastgir. Over to you, Shrija.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Shrija Pal, the school captain of St. Augustine's Day School, Barrackpur. I welcome all of you here to the Augusto e-Career Fair 2021-22. The topic for today's event is healthcare. It is said that time and health are the two precious assets that we have. And I think no time can be as perfect as this, where we can have a vast discussion on health. With this, I introduce our today's guest speaker, Dr. Aparna Khastgir. We welcome you here, ma'am. A very good afternoon to you. Dr. Aparna Khastgir is the founder director of ACE Inspire, under whose leadership the institute started its journey way back in 2005. She has done her bachelor's and master's from the Calcutta University through Presidency College and a diploma in English language teaching from the Institute of English. She has got her PhD from King's College London under the supervision of Emeritus Professor Richard Proudfoot, the general editor of the Arden Shakespeare series. During her stay abroad for a decade, she has won several prestigious awards like the Charles Wallace Trust Award, the Northbrook Society Award, the King's College London Bursary, and Times Knowledge Icon Award. She took classes both for undergraduate and postgraduate students during her research abroad and worked as head invigilator in the university examinations in the UK. After returning from London, she has taught at Jadavpur University, Victoria College, and Rani Billa Girls College. She gives regular motivational talks to students and parents in seminars, workshops, and meetings organized by various schools, colleges, and publishing houses. She has also published articles in peer-reviewed journals, both national and international. She's currently editing the final manuscript of her book on closure in Shakespeare's classical works for the general readership. She is the English examiner for the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, United Kingdom. Dr. Khastgir started her own institute, Advanced Center for English, upon realizing the general plight of the students of West Bengal who fared poorly in jobs and campus interviews because of their lack of communication skills in English. Inspire is the offshoot of Advanced Center for English, created as a career advancing institute to facilitate students to prepare for various competitive examinations like banking, defense, judicial services, CLAT, CAT, SAT, GRE, and GMAT. In a valued partnership with Birth, the busiest infertility center of Eastern India, it has also launched a charitable trust named Wealth Inspire Foundation to provide support and platform for a social society represented by and informed by and empowered people. Dr. Khastgir has also collaborated with Apollo MedSkills in Hyderabad, a healthcare skill development company of Apollo Hospitals Group. Together, they have flagged off a service in Kolkata under the banner of AGK Apollo MedSkills to develop the human resources in India with relevant healthcare skills, academic excellence, and on-job training exposure. The aim of it is to make trainee doctors, nurses, paramedics, and hospital support staffs much more employable. The trained personnels are going to be recruited by the government and private hospitals in India as well as the UK and other countries all over the world. We feel extremely honored and privileged to have you here in this platform, ma'am. I request the audience to keep their questions ready and put them in the chat box with time. And now, the wait is over. With today's theme being Go and Touch a Life, respected ma'am, I wish you again a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to our today's event. Ma'am, I request you to share a few valuable words with us. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much indeed, Srija, for that lovely introduction. I feel much honored and gratified. Let's go to my slide, my title slide. It was the year 1854, and the British government was entrenched in a bloody battle called the Crimean War. Florence Nightingale served as a volunteer on one of the floors of a military hospital where soldiers came in after they had been injured on the battlefield. She was born into a rather grand, very wealthy family, and her parents were horrified when they learned that she had volunteered to work in military hospitals during the Crimean War. Once there, she swiftly realized that more patients were dying of infection that they had caught in the wards, in those dirty, filthy, fetid wards, than on the battlefield. And therefore, what she saw fired her to pen a letter to the then British government. And she wrote, if you had wanted to create a place worse than hell, then you surely have succeeded. As the physicians went from bedside to bedside to bedside, they did not wash their hands or sterilize their medical equipment. At that time, conventional medical practice believed that if you didn't see anything, it did not exist, and that germs were figments of one's imagination. But Florence Nightingale knew what was fundamentally wrong, and she pushed the envelope of medical practice by implementing a policy of sanitation and hygiene, not with the help of doctors, but with the help of her support staff. And what they did was, they went on working for these soldiers and other wounded people. And in her own words, she says, were there none who were discontented with what they have, the world would not reach anything better. Indeed, it's in these moments of great challenge and despair that there lie opportunities of great change. No talk on healthcare can happen without the mention of this trailblazing figure of human history. But neither can any talk on healthcare not have stories to tell. Once upon a time, those are magical words, isn't it? Are we ever too old to hear a story? I think not. Stories are powerful and they draw us in. And they say what statistics can never say. So let's begin with my story, my anecdote. Just one day after my cataract surgery, I experienced a shooting pain in my tummy. I always prided on my very high pain threshold. So I decided to wait and watch, give it some time until 2 days had passed. I had spent the previous night up all night. And as the first rays of dawn streamed into my bedroom, I waked my husband up and said, I need to go to a hospital right now. I could bear the pain no longer. Once I was taken to the hospital, to the emergency room, and straddled to a couple of machines over there and put on an IV channel, I was then transported to the ward where I realized that I was not going to be released very soon. Then, after some time, what happened was I developed a swelling on my left wrist where the channel went in, and it started causing me excruciating pain. I realized that the fluid was not going in, and I knew that my vein had blocked up. So I told the doctor, and the resident medical doctor ran helter-skelter, and he pricked, pushed, tried to put in, a needle through my vein, but the poor soul couldn't find one. So he called the ICU doctor, and he came and did the needful, finally. But by that time, I was exhausted. It was late at night, well past my dinner time. As I lay on the hospital bed, in pops in a very senior nurse with a cheery face. One look at my face, and she realized that something was wrong. She asked me, I told her what had happened. Then she ruefully said, well, I can't take off your channel right now because the fluid has not gone in yet. So the dose has to be complete. Let me see what I can do about it. And so she gave me a couple of painkillers, and I gradually drifted off to an uncomfortable, fitful sleep. Next morning, when I woke up, everything was hunky-dory. There was no pain, and the channel was nowhere to be sighted. Surprised, I lay thinking what could have happened, until that angelic face popped in once again with a cheery smile. She told me that she came into my room the other night, last night, in late hours, and very gently removed my channel so as not to wake me up. She had read my body language, assessed my pain, and decided to give my hand a respite so that the swelling could subside and a fresh channel could be reinserted when the time came. So, what is nursing after all? You see, students, nobody in high school will ever tell you that it is all about touching lives. The healthcare sector is a big unit. It's like a big joint family consisting not only of doctors, of nurses, clinicians, but also the support staff, which is made up of a whole lot of people. Let me come to the nurses first. Who are these nurses? Well, they are these angelic souls who have an amazing insight in terms of how to care for the patient and how to give them comfort. And not only that, they know when to come and wake the family members up just in time for their loved one's last breath. And they also know how long to leave you in the room long after your loved one has departed. So what do they have which others don't? Three things. First, they are by the patient's bedside for 8 to 12 hours to monitor their condition. So they know their patients inside out. Second, they can remind the doctors if they forget something. Doctors are very busy. They flit from hospital to hospital, from bed to bed, from patient to patient. They do surgeries, see patients in their own clinics. So it's very natural that they can make mistakes sometimes. It's these nurses who very diligently point out these mistakes. And thirdly, and most importantly, these nurses can see the same illness from different perspectives. They see it from the clinician's point of view, from the nurse's point of view, from the patient's point of view, from the relatives, family, friend, and the rest of the others too. What does it take to be a nurse? Well, for a starter, a lot of grit and determination to withstand all the odds, like a stoic. Because they see a wide range of patients, and these patients are of different age and have different illnesses. They do a lot of things. You see, modern times have seen a great paradigm shift towards health promotion in that treating patients today no more means treating the illness only. It has to be a holistic treatment, which means that these nurses should have a broad spectrum knowledge of biological, physiological, philosophical, and psychological, social sciences to treat that person. Therefore, their roles are broadened into a caregiver, educator, advocate, and also coordinator. In short, the nursing process involves a whole lot of things. They need to assess what's wrong with the patient, then they need to chart out a plan, then they need to implement, put into practice those plans, and then finally comes evaluation, what they had done, whether it's right. If they have done right, can they improve in any other way? If they have not done right, can things be done in a different way? So on and so forth. Let's now come to the to-do list. Well, to be a nurse, first things first, you have to do a GNM, which is a General Nursing and Midwifery course. Mind you, it's a diploma course. And after you've passed your 10+2 exam with a PCB combination, that is physics, chemistry, and biology as your subject, that is, you've got to take science. You have to also score an aggregate of 50% marks. And the minimum age for enrolling in that course is 17, and the upper age limit is 30. The duration is 3 years, plus there is an extra 6 months of internship, without which certification will not be given. And the course fee is a bit on the higher side, comes to about 3,50,000 per year. Few institutes will have their own entrance examinations, or they can take students from the state level entrance exams as well. The application date usually starts around August, September, although this date might vary from state to state. Some of the popular entrance examination are All India Institute of Medical Science, PGI Chandigarh, JIPMER Pondicherry, Banaras Hindu University, Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences. Mind you, this is Karnataka state we are talking about. And Karnataka actually has the highest number of medical colleges and nursing colleges, not only in India, but also in the world. So this is a general knowledge question which often gets asked. And of course, IGNOU, the Open University, MGM, which is the Mahatma Gandhi Mission University Hospital Health Sciences, common entrance test. Now, you can also apply for advanced nursing courses after you've completed your GNM. If you want to know what are the career prospects, you can work as an ICU nurse, intensive care unit nurse, staff nurse, which you see in all hospitals. You can be a nursing teacher, tutor in one of the university college hospitals or a nursing college. You can be a forensic nurse. You can be a clinical nurse specialist. Now, mind you, when you come to clinical nurse specialist, this is something which is very popular in the West, but hasn't caught up in India, the idea. Although I have just learned that the Modi government has announced that it's going to introduce clinical nurse specialist very soon in all the states of India. Although how soon that soon is going to be, I have absolutely no idea. There are other nurses, emergency room nurse, community health nurse. Now, mind you, some medical jobs are highly stressful because you have to do long hours, you have to stand on your feet at a stretch, and these are in intense, high stressed, high pressure situations. So not all of you will be cut out for clinical positions. So there may be many among you who might consider management or administration. You can therefore do hospital administrations, operations executive. You can work as a lawyer, medical lawyer. You can work in a laboratory. You can work as a medical transcriptionist. You can work in a pathology lab, or even teach in a nursing college or a university, as I said. But enough of these boring datas. I think it's now time for another story break. One day, a young girl was washing an old man's back in a hospital when he suddenly starts to sob. The girl jumps back in fear, afraid that she must have hurt him. So she gingerly asks, "Oh, sorry, did I hurt you?" No, go on, says the old man gruffly. So she nervously hands him some tissues to wipe his tears and goes back to what she was doing. After a few minutes of complete silence, the old man finally composes himself and says, "I am sorry. You see, it's been nearly 22 years since my wife died. And since then, no one has touched my back ever." Wow, thought the young nurse. What an incredible moment. What an honor to be present at that very point in someone's most vulnerable moment. And that, my friends, is what nursing assistants do day in and day out on the other side of the stethoscope. The doctors treat the illness, but these people treat the human response to that illness. You know, once I heard a very, very incredible thing. One of the nursing assistants once told me in a hospital that, you know, what's the easiest way to touch a stranger? It's by feeling his or her pulse. At that moment, that touch is the most reassuring, gentle, caring, and soothing, and has the ability in helping in the patient's healing process. So what makes a nursing assistant? You have to do a couple of things because you are a major part of the healthcare team. You can work in a nursing home, you can be a nursing assistant in a private hospital, government hospital, or a home healthcare setting. So what do? They assist with all kinds of patient needs. They answer the call lights. They take vital signs, which is the BP, the blood pressure. They take your blood, they draw your blood, they do dressings. They look whether you're out for whether you have diabetes or not. They do ambulatory service, which means they lift and transport patient from one place to another. They do the feeding, bathing, dressing. And according to certifications of a nursing assistant vary. They can even prescribe medication. They can even give prescribed medication and get rooms ready for new admissions. But at all these times, they have to work always under a doctor or a registered nurse. And together, these people provide the essential medical care and aid in the recovery of the patient. To thrive in this profession, they need to have some very special qualities. What are these competencies? They have to have excellent nursing skill. They have to be very good communicators. They need to be gentle, patient, caring, and not to mention, they have to remain calm and sensible during emergencies. They can't afford to lose their minds. Most of all, they need to have the stamina to work long hours and have also the medical and technical expertise of handling instruments, equipments. One of the most attractive things about this career option is that you don't need a college degree. And to apply, in most states, all you have to be is 18 years of age. You have to have a high school diploma, and you have to pass a few screening tests. This makes nursing assistants ideal for high school grads who want to see if healthcare suits them or not before they try their hands or invest their time in doing some other undergraduate education. It is also a good option if you want to gain some hands-on experience and build some interpersonal skills. One of the other reasons why CNA is a great choice is that you will always have a very stable job. It's always in high demand in the trending picture of healthcare industry, whatever be the condition of the economy. Even if the economy is low, at the most, you won't get a salary hike, but you will never, ever lose your job. During these pandemic times, have you ever come across any health worker losing his or her job? I haven't, at least. I don't know about you. Let me show you a short clip of what a training program for nursing assistants and paramedics generally look like. This is a video from my own training institute. Have a look.
Affordable healthcare in India. So you have to come down to see at the level of the abdominal wall whether it is expanding or not. Individual assessment and care planning, not just planning the care according to the risk condition, but planning the care according to the woman's need. We all have been hearing that more than 48.5 million people in the world today are affected by infertility. And one in every 10 couples experience either primary or secondary infertility. এই মেশিনে আমাদের তিনটে প্রোব আছে। As per the WHO guidelines, the ejaculate volume what we are looking at these days is 1.6 ml, roughly 1.5 ml.
করছি। কিরকম হয়েছে?
ঠিক আছে, এখানে তুমি চ্যানেল করতে পারবে, আইভি দিতে পারবে, ইন্টারভেনাস যেটা বলবো তোমাদের।
যেটা posterior segment. তাহলে there is a difference between anterior segment, anterior chamber, posterior segment, posterior chamber. Clear? Any doubts?
Ovulation induction is a term which is often confused with superovulation and controlled ovarian hyperstimulation. Now, when we do ovulation induction with clomiphene, in the majority, ovulation takes place.
এখানে হেয়ার ফলিকল আছে মানে কি? হেয়ার মানে কি? বাইরের পার্টটাতে আছে, স্কিন আছে, তার মানে ক্যামেরাটা ঢুকছে কান দিয়ে, ক্যামেরাটা ঢুকছে এবং আউটার 1/3 আছে, আউটার 1/3 অফ এক্সটার্নাল অডিটরি ক্যানাল আছে, ঢুকছে, ঠিক আছে?
So, nursing assistants, what do they need? They need a unique combination of attentiveness. They have to be very attentive, they have to be reliable, and they have to have specialized training, because these are the people with whom patients spend most of the time. No wonder you can be one blessed to make a difference in a very positive way in someone's life. In order to be a certified nursing assistant, you can join a private training, or you can take some community classes, and these are available at a very low fee. For example, in our own training institute, we charge 5,000 per month. It's as low as it can get. And this kind of certification is one of the most affordable and the easiest way to enter the healthcare sector. Not only this, apart from stability, it assures you flexibility. You have a flexible job. What do you mean by that? You can work in the morning, say, for 6 hours or 8 hours a shift in some hospitals, while in the evening you can go and work privately for some doctor in his clinic too. So you are free to choose your own work hours, and you can work either in a rural area or in a big city. And the average basic salary in India for such people is, it kind of starts with something like 15,000 plus, and it can go up as high as 40,000, which Kerala offers, or somewhere, say, from 12,000 to 14,000 in West Bengal, in some private hospitals. But if you work in a central government, the pay scale in all the states is much higher than the state level pay. Now, on a less serious note, here is another little anecdote. The year is 1996, and my parents were visiting London, where I was there, to meet their grandson for the very first time. One afternoon, as my mom and I were having lunch downstairs, my dad was upstairs keeping a strict vigil over my son. As he lay fast asleep, he was enjoying his afternoon siesta. Suddenly, we hear a heavy thud, followed by the baby's cry. Now, before I go any further, let me get one thing very straight. My parents, when they were visiting me, did not take too kindly on the idea of a cot training, as is the norm in the West. Their contention is, what is the use of having grandparents if your grandson has to remain confined in a prison like cot most of the time? So lay my son on a white double bed so as to give him more space to stretch his limbs, according to my parents, like some Maharaja, whilst my dad kept guard over him. Meanwhile, as he was feeling a bit bored, he decided to pop to the next room to fetch a newspaper for himself so that he can read to while away the time. Poor dad. Little did the poor soul realize that my son was going to choose exactly that moment to ditch him and do an expert somersault in his sleep and crash land on the carpeted floor without much ado. My mom and I sprinted upstairs, and my immediate response was to dial 999. While my father sat there pale and trembling, not knowing what to do. I was immediately put onto a paramedic nurse who kept crooning comforting words of advice into my ears to reassure me. And at the same time as he was doing that, he was also gently asking me questions. How is the baby doing? Is he fast asleep? Is he drowsy? Is he wide awake? Is he responding to sound? What is he doing? What are you all doing? Because he was trying to assess whether the baby has suffered some sort of a head injury or not. And while this conversation was taking place, what happened was I was hearing in the background signs, screeching signs of ambulance. So as he was talking to me, he was already on his way to my home. As he arrived, he bundled all three of us. My father wouldn't leave my son's side. So my father, my son, and I, three of us were bundled into the paramedic ambulance, and off we went to the nearest hospital, St. George's Hospital, which was about 5 to 7 minutes of driving distance. And as we neared the accident and emergency area, I heard the paramedic chuckling on the other side of the telephone, telling possibly a doctor, updating him about the baby's condition. Baby's doing fine, mate, not to worry, but the grandfather's about to have a heart attack. Trust the Brits with their sense of humor, even at times like this. So what is all about these paramedic courses? Well, these are profession-oriented medical training courses. It enables the students to develop a career in the medical industry in a short amount of time and at a reasonably low cost. There are numerous options. You have the bachelor's degree, the postgraduate certificate, diploma course. It's your call, whatever you want to do. Now, the course, all these courses range from, the starting time is, the minimum time is 6 months to 3 to 4 years. Now, a paramedic, because he is usually the senior member of a 2-person ambulance crew, he is always supported by an emergency care assistant or a technician. So this paramedic is usually, or let's say typically, one of the first healthcare professionals to arrive in the emergency scene. If you dial a 999 in UK or 911 in the US or any other number in India here. And he is very adept in responding to emergency calls, provide treatment, make a very quick diagnosis, administer medication, give pain relief, and give intravenous infusions, use specialist equipments like ventilators, defibrillators, while the patient is in transit. So he is an expert, in short. And most of all, he's a brilliant communicator, because most of the times in the ambulance, along with the patient, will always be a member of his family or a friend. So he, the paramedic, has to make that person understand, assure him that everything is fine and the patient is being taken care of. The minimum qualification to enroll is class 10. However, if you are a class 12 pass out, you have to have biology as one of your subjects. You can do a diploma course, certificate course, postgraduate course, and the disciplines in which you can do a paramedic course are radiation technology, physiotherapy, anesthesia. You can do medical imaging, X-ray, dialysis, physiotherapy, whole range of things that you can do. And the duration of a diploma course is usually something ranging between 1 to 3 years' time. And the certificate course is 6 months to 2 years. Average salary, how much do they earn? Something around 17,000 to 24,000, or even 25-ish, a month. And what happens is, if you are in the paramedic service for more than, say, 5-6 years, you are a very senior member, you can earn as much as 50,000, as high as that. Typically, the top colleges would be AIMS, the previous slide. The top colleges would be, again, AIMS, JIPMER, Jamia Millia University, Chandigarh University, Christ University, Manipal School. These are, again, more or less same for all the healthcare industry, whether you are into MBBS course or a nursing course or a paramedic course, or so on and so forth. And what are the top recruits? The top recruiters are Fortis, Apollo, Artemis, Bilroth, Manipal, Nanavati. These hospitals are very well known. And when I show you these hospitals, it doesn't mean that work is available, employment is available only in these. You can also, these are the top recruiters, in the sense that if you are lucky enough to work in any of these hospitals, the pay rise, the pay scale is much higher. You see, students, the biggest untapped resource of the 21st century is the patient. Tragically enough, in India, this is one truth we have not yet been able to come to terms with. Therefore, working in this sector ought to make you feel privileged, because you'll be able to tell the patient, I will always, always be there for you. I will always hold your hand, no matter what. I'll stay with you throughout the end. Let me wind off my talk with another incredible story of an extraordinary person, Sister Stephen. She runs a nursing home in Wisconsin called the Villa Loretto. She grew up wishing she had lived in a farm. So given the opportunity, what Sister does is she adopts local farm animals, and she enthusiastically brings these farm animals. And in Villa Loretto, you will find the entire gamut of the circle of life under her roof, because she would bring these animals as animal therapy. And in the springtime, when these animals have babies, Sister Stephen uses these baby ducks, goats, chicken, and lambs as therapy for the residents, who sometimes don't even remember their names. But they do rejoice in holding a baby lamb in their arms. One day, Sister Stephen was with a photographer. She was there because she was shooting a film on the sister. And therefore, both of them had to be away from Villa Loretto for the shooting. So as the two were leaving, Sister, before going, went to the room of a dying patient. She leaned over, kissed the forehead of the dying patient, and said lovingly, I have to go away for the day. But if Jesus calls you, you go. You go straight home to Jesus. In the words of that photographer, and I quote, I was standing there mesmerized, thinking for the first time in my life that I witnessed that you could show someone that you could love them completely by letting them go. You don't have to hold on to them so tightly, you know. So dear students, I promise you that in this healthcare sector, you will get to see more life rolled up than you will ever get to see at any other time, at any other place in your life. I know it's not the usual norm to end one's talk by showing appreciation and thanking all who've made today's event happen. This usually comes at the beginning. But I, for one, have always enjoyed making an exception and doing things my way. So I'm going to sign off today by thanking all my dear students, the principal, the vice principal, the teachers, admin staff, organizers of St. Augustine School, and most of all to my very dear friend, Janet, for letting me be your storyteller for today. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you all once again.
Indeed, I must say it was indeed a very informative session, rather a combination session, delivering the required information and of course, not to miss out on the storytelling. Speaking frankly, Doctor, I was getting the goosebumps. Your voice is really mesmerizing, I must say. And I've got very inquisitive bunch of students who have sent me loads of questions, which are suitable and for this current scenario of the pandemic condition. My first question goes like this. With your permission, may I start?
Sure, go on.
How will COVID-19 reshape nursing education globally?
Well, for a start, as you can see, things have gone into the virtual mode again. And in terms of reshaping, I think we will be using a lot of AI intelligence, artificial intelligence. What is going to happen and is already in the process of happening is we will be ever more dependent on our mobile phone. There will be a day, and that day is not too far off. I cannot, like Modi, promise that it's going to be very soon, but I certainly can say this much, that there will be a time when you will place the mobile on your heart and your ECG will be in the doctor's chamber right there. Things will go at a very fast pace, and maybe in 2 or 3 years down the line, we will see things which right at this point of time can never even visualize in the wildest of our dreams. But then human beings are capable of everything. And with a pandemic to go each year like this, you don't know what can happen.
Exactly correct. You actually gave way for my next question actually. How much of the course or this program is online versus hands-on?
The course is entirely hands-on. No course on healthcare can be a virtual program. As it needs be. You see, even in pandemic times, doctors, nurses, healthcare professionals are always on duty. As I said, that is the one profession where you can be assured of never losing your job. It's always the most high trending job or jobs in today's scenario. And what happens is you cannot teach somebody to draw blood by showing them how to do it virtually. One of the things which I get to hear from people who've enrolled in such courses is that most of the classes are done theoretically. This, I believe, is not right. Even as I'm speaking today, there are several thousands of doctors in India, also in the world, serving the patients that cannot be given virtually. So no training program, I repeat and I insist, if anyone were to tell you that, just tell them, no, that's not possible, that's not feasible. Practical classes means practical classes. Because, as I was talking to you about the resident medical doctor who was trying to punch me in order to try and find a vein, in order to put a channel. I went to a private hospital. I didn't go to a government hospital. And you will be learning on dummies initially for the first 2 or 3 months. Then you have to go and work in a clinic or in a hospital where you will not have the opportunity to punch a patient more than once or twice. And if it's a private hospital, God help you, because there's soon enough going to be a medical legal case. So you can't afford to give any training in the healthcare sector virtually. How do you teach somebody to resuscitate a patient? By showing pictures? Do you know the right amount of pressure to give so as not to break his ribs? That can't be done. So what can't be done? If somebody tries to do it, either he is above the level of humanity or below it. I can't do it. Sorry.
Before I go for my next question, I request the students to please mark their attendance on the G form circulated. Okay, Doctor, the next question. What if I want to return to school after working in the field?
What, could you please repeat that question once again? I'm not with you. What if?
What if I want to return to school, to my regular schooling after doing this nursing course, after working in the field?
I suppose you can. Why not? Because, then what you have to do is, there are shifts. In all training institutes, you will find that work is done and things are taught in various shifts. If you are in school, you can do the evening shift. If you have an afternoon session, if you have to go to school in the afternoon, you can learn in the morning. And after finishing that course, which is usually 6 months, you can, I suppose, go back. Because here the normal, what happens is we take somebody as young as 17 to 18 years of age. And that is all over India. So if they want to go back to school, return to school, I don't think that should be a problem. But yes, what happens is if during any training, if there is a gap, because you need to do practical classes in the sense that you will be sent for internship. And internship means you will have to go and work in hospitals, busy hospitals, because we liaise with hospitals all the time. Hospitals come to us for nurses, for paramedics, for certified nurses. So what we do is we generally, after the training is over, we send them off to hospitals. They have to appear for interviews. Then if they are chosen, they start working there. If not, sometimes what you can do is you can return to school, you can finish off what you were doing, and then go back and take the training or join the healthcare afterwards. You can do it, say, you can tell your interviewers that I can't join right now, but I'll come back in 2 months' time or 3 months' time, whatever. If they are willing to agree, if they see you're good enough, they're going to agree. They're going to take you on anyway on board.
Okay, keeping the time constraint in mind, last question for today. What academic support resources are available for students?
You mean in these sort of courses? In
Yes,
these sort of courses, there are always libraries. You have the Mr. Google University, ever reliable Mr. Google, where you can watch online classes, and online classes means you can watch lectures. But I guess books are your greatest friends. You will have handbooks. And from time to time, let me tell you something. It is the practical aspect which is of paramount importance. Of course, you need to have the medical knowledge on which to base your practical training. But at the end of the day, if you can't perform, no amount of knowledge is going to come to your aid during these times. So I want to sign off by saying one thing: practical experience, practical experience, practical experience. Work hard so that you become an expert.
Thank you, Doctor, for your answers. I hope my students have marked the attendance via the Google form being shared. Now I would like to call upon Ms. Mahashweta Adhikari to give away the vote of thanks. Over to you, Mahashweta.
The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So goes the proverb. These past few years have been tough for all of us due to the COVID-19 outbreak, but a lot easier it seemed because of people like Dr. Aparna Khastgir. Thank you, ma'am, for taking out time from your busy day and sharing your experience with all of us. Everyone present at the event learned a great deal, though through your talk. Your talk not only gave valuable insight into this healthcare sector, but also inspired many. We got to know about the various prospects of healthcare department too. Thank you so much for enriching our event with your presence. Our entire team of St. Augustine is grateful for your company. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.